So the last couple of days, I have been burning MIG wire like crazy, getting this frame prepped out and ready. And I hadn't been doing that on camera because, you know, I'm just sitting here just burning in all of these seams where, you know, I'll weld on a section, welding the seams up, and then move to another section while that cools, and just going around. And I got into doing repairs and doing some of the modifications, and I realized, like, wait a minute, this is an episode. We need to be filming and showing y'all what I'm doing to this frame. And so on this third episode here for our metric street stock build, I just want to walk around and show you some of the frame stuff I'm doing here that I had to do before I could actually start putting tubing in. I'm ready to get the tubing. But this is important stuff, so I want to show y'all this. So hopefully this is a quick one, but I want to show y'all what's going on here. So there's a couple of different things. I want to show you this right front first right here. So y'all come here. Word of warning on this right here, depending on your track and like you got your rules set, how tight your tech is, your sanctioning bodies, all of that stuff, you can get yourself jammed up on how you fix, work on, or modify this right front right here. So you've been warned. Now, this particular frame had significant rust damage. It had just all of this center right here was just completely rusted out. And so I went ahead and just cut that away, and I'm just gonna just weld it back up. And that's the only reason I'm doing this, right? Just because of the rust. Has nothing to do with the fact that like all of these cars will hook the right front tire into the frame horn right here. Right? Nothing to do with that, right? Anyway, just be aware, you know, make sure like in the crate racing street stock, everybody is cleaning these up, and like if one of them gets disqualified, like all of them are gonna have to be disqualified. But you know, depending on how it is, I have seen cars when I got to looking through some photos and stuff, and some guys are taking like a sledgehammer and they're like beating this back where they get about an inch of clearance right here. That way the whole frame is there. You haven't like took anything away or whatever to make it work. But like when you start swapping out and putting these different lower control arms and doing stuff, and depending on what offset wheel you're running, you can really get yourself jammed up right here. Now this one, like I said, all of this center, it had this big hole right here. So I just took and cut that to a triangle, and then I'm just turning around and I'm just welding that back up. And you know, while I had it open, I went ahead and got this inside welded real good. There's an inner third layer in the middle there that's just like stamped and pushed in. I was able to go ahead and weld that up, which actually is going to make it stronger. So that's a good thing. And then I just cut back to where it's doubled right there, where I got something really good and solid to weld onto. So this is the first place that was really rusted out, needed to be worked on anyway so that the frame will just actually work. So let me go ahead and get this welded up right quick. All right, let's see if I can get this welded up here. Oh, I got it. Well, there's where you need 3 hands. Oh, I let off for it cool. Sit, boo-boo, sit. I'm gonna just bend that back a little. I can get in there. A lot stouter if I can weld it from the inside. Ooh, I suck welding left-handed. Ain't nobody gonna see that though. Gotcha. Oh, I gotcha. Alright, so all this is welded up, and yeah, on like these welds right here on this corner, I'll probably like take a flat disc to this stuff, and it's not because I'm trying to cover up ugly welds or anything like that. It's because this is all going to get dirt on it. I'm constantly going to be washing it off. And if I've got a weld on here, that dirt just, it sticks to it. It doesn't clean off easy. I end up having to manually get the dirt off. So I will clean that up. All of these joints and stuff, I don't know what GM uses to weld, what type of a filler wire they use when they put these things together back in the 70s and 80s. But if you don't grind it out, it's going to show like porosity. It's going to look like you don't have enough gas. And like for me, it's like I can't grind all of this stuff out. It's just too much. And so like what I do is I run a lot of gas shield and just turn the voltage way up where I can just burn through it. And you know, yeah, it's, you know, as you look at this, you're going to see where I've got some like undercut and stuff. And I'm just telling you that's what it's from. I'm just running real high voltage, and that way it will just get through. You know, that original, they got like these boogered up, looks like dirt daubers in place. If it's terrible, I grind it off, but otherwise, you know, I'm just running through it. And I'm just running a lot of voltage and a lot of shielding gas over it so that it will just penetrate and get through it. Doesn't make for the prettiest weld, but it gets the job done without me spending 3 years trying to weld the frame seams up. So just trying to be completely honest with what's going on here, y'all, because there's no perfect way to do this kind of stuff. All right, so there's the right front. You've been warned. This one right here, like I said, I just took out where it was rusted. That's all I was doing here. Now I got a bigger problem I want to show y'all. All right, so this frame was in really good shape except for this left front horn. And I probably, you know, like probably sat with this, you know, this horn like with some dirt on top of it, a bunch of leaves or something. But I went to welding up my seam down through here and I started just blowing through like crazy. And it was so pitted up and stuff. And I took a hammer and I went to pecking on it. And all of this just immediately started just caving in on me. And it's solid here, it's solid, the bottom is solid, you know, like the sides, I think it just had like material sitting on top of it and it stayed wet right on top and it just pitted away, but it's too thin. You know, it actually, like, it started cracking up back here after I had welded it up, and, you know, it's like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna work. And so, anyway, I am gonna fix this, and I'm gonna show y'all. But all I'm going to do here, I'm going to cut it out like this. I'm going to take and make a template with cardboard. Then I'm going to transfer the cardboard to the steel. I am not going to cut this by the cardboard. I'm going to cut this by the piece of steel to go in it. Because when we transfer through like that, it's going to change a little, it's going to change a little. And what we're trying to do is to get it to fit exactly right. So I'm just going to take, and we're going to run all the way back here. And it is misshapen 10 ways to Sunday. There's no straight line on this thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a magic marker. And I'm going to cut one side like that. Take a pair of scissors to it. I'm not going to actually run right to the edge. I want to leave this little formed lip if I can. I want to weld into this lip. I don't want to actually cut back to the bottom and have this like sharp square corner that I weld, because that's actually going to be weaker. It would be stronger if I could leave a little bit of that rolled lip and then just weld into that. And I started to do this a little bit differently, and I think it would be fine, but it might be a little bit uglier. But I started to just take and cut a piece of, like, beat this down and cut a piece of steel and put a cap over it and just leave that. And I think that's fine. I think if you had like something going on like this right here, you could just throw a piece of steel over it and then just weld it all the way around. It would be fine. But I was like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it out, because when I cut it out, we're probably gonna go ahead and weld up our cross tubes that go across for our box. Go ahead and weld that stuff up, make it solid while we got it open. You don't normally, you know, get access to do that. So while I got it open, we can do it. Get close. I think we're good right through, maybe just a little bit off right there. Ryan came up with me a good piece of donor steel. We needed some steel to like, you know, make these repair panels and like cut gussets and plating stuff or whatever. And I got some 3/8 and I got some 5/16 and I got some 3/16. That stuff's really thick. I wouldn't want to use it for that. And then Ryan, he came up with this. This is a piece he was replacing at work that was just going in the scrap pile, and he knew I was looking for something that was like more like 1/8. So let me see what this is. Yep, that's 1/8 is what that is. So that's 1/8. So that's perfect. I'm probably gonna take, and when we get done, I'm probably gonna cut like some big gussets and different pieces out of this. This 1/8 will be used. I'll use this a lot. Y'all gonna see me cut this whole thing up. Time this build's over with, none of that be left. But we're gonna start right here. I cleaned off. Got it ready to go. I got this little plasma torch. What is this thing? I give $215 for this plasma torch. It's Amazon special. I'll put a link to it on the website. But this thing right here had the best reviews and everything. It was the cheapest one out there that had good reviews. It's 110 or 220. And this one comes with a regular air hookup regulator and stuff where you don't have to go and like adapt it because it just got like a hose clamp, you know, deal. A lot of them that are cheap, they don't have where you can just hook in like an IM type air hose into it. And this one did. And anyway, but it'll go to 50 amps. And buddy, 50 amps, it will cut some thick stuff. But yeah, I've been really happy with it. When I build these cars, I only do owner bottles because I'm here at home, so I don't do a lease. I probably should lease because I use enough on the oxygen and acetylene. And anyway, you know, it's like the last one I built, like I burned through like two tanks of acetylene, 2 tanks of oxygen. And it's still got to a point around here, the owner size bottles that I'm using, I think acetylene's running me like $70 every time, and then the oxygens, they're not as bad. They're maybe like $40 now. And I remember them little owner bottles like that, getting them things filled for like 14, 15 bucks. That was probably 30 years ago though, so you know, there's that. But anyway, so I got this thing. It was about $215. It's 110 or 220. Came with extra tips and consumables, and they're like regular standard stuff. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. I mean, you know, just on the replacement oxygen acetylene on this build I'd be using, it will pay for itself. So, you know, it was like, that was a no-brainer. I was like, man, I've got to quit, you know, burning through all of this oxygen acetylene. And I tell you too, the tips on the torches, you ruin a tip now. Like, I run a Victor Jr. head, and I think them things, the cheapest I can get them now is like $13, $14 is the cheapest I can get a tip. And I'll usually go through 2 or 3 of them in a build before it's over, because, you know, you get a rush and you end up all down in it. And anyway. All right, let's go. Tell me that ain't quick. Smooth the edges up just a little bit. I didn't bother with taking the mill scale off the back side of it because I'm not going to be welding this. I won't be able to get to it, so I'm not going to worry about it. But got the top ready, put a little beveled edge on it and everything, smoothed it up. And it is never going to be the exact same size, but it's going to be close enough. So now on this one, I'm going to really try to cut that line exactly if it's any way possible. I ain't got to be perfect, but sure wouldn't hurt anything. Perfect would be great. All right. Hold you down right there. And let's go. Let's go. And I was right. The rest of it in here looks good. Not rusted, not pitted, nothing. So that's a good sign. Well, it looks really good down in here. No surface, you know, pitting or anything like that. It's just got a coating of rust, but it's like just a light surface coating. No metal loss at all. Even the floor looks good. Just that top was just total garbage. But the rest of it looks great. But while I've got it open, I'm going to go ahead and beef up these tubes a little bit, weld those up on the inside. Now, the problem here is there is no way I can get in there and get these things clean enough to MIG weld even decently. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll burn through a little rust every once in a while, you know, according to what you're doing and you know, how much it's got to hold. That's not the end of the world. But for this, it would just be a disaster, because being able to get down in there, you know, close enough, and then also everything's got surface rust on it. So MIG welder is out on this, and that's when good old Handy comes in, arc weld it. So I learned how to weld arc welding, not MIG welding. And so that is fine by me, because back when I had a service truck and was repairing equipment, everything got fixed with an arc welder. We're just going to take and brush it off, and what we're going to use is a 6011. And if you got an arc welder you carry to the track, probably 6011s. I would say if you just carry 6011s and 7014s, those two rods, you're good to go. A lot of people just carry a 6013, and that's it. And that works too. But 6011, as far as if you're burning through paint, and burning through rust and stuff, if you just like, I've got to get penetration and I cannot clean this before I start, 6011, that's your rod. Doesn't make a pretty weld, but it'll burn through it. So, kind of just brush everything extra off here. And I just set this up. I'm going to use a 1/8 rod. I'm going to run it about 80 amps. That should be plenty. 6011 strike easy, so you can run low amperage on it. As long as you're getting a good pull and you see you're getting melt, you're good. And I can tell you, a little bit of arc welding every once in a while, especially if you don't do a lot of welding, if you'll get an arc welder and start doing some projects and stuff and learn how to use you know, a stick, then when you do use your MIG welder, you're going to find that like you've made this huge leap in skill, because you've got to learn when you're stick welding, you've got to learn how to run your pattern, how to weave, how to stitch. And then that habit, when you form it, then turn around and when you're MIG welding, it's just going to start presenting itself in your MIG welding, and everything is just going to get better. It's just going to be easy on your MIG welder for you to see your pool and keep it under control. And you know, so I'm a big advocate of like practicing stick welding in order to keep, you know, your MIG welding. Well, hey, something I want to show y'all. I hadn't showed this, but this is something from back when I run a service truck. So you have to keep your rods dry. So everybody gets one of these, you know, tubes like this to keep your rods dry, right? Won't keep your rods dry, y'all. It's still ended up when you're, you know, you're out in the rain, you got this thing thrown in the service truck, and so like with us in the shop even, you very rarely stick weld, so you need to keep your rods dry for when you need it. Well, you get you one of these tubes, but order you a small bag of desiccant, and they don't come with this unless they make some now that do. But what I do is I'll show you. I pour desiccant in the bottom. So that's that drying agent. Makes it a little hard. I have to kind of work the rods down in there. But when I was on the service truck, I learned to do this because this thing could be back there and I end up getting water in the box or whatever. And of course, I got a rubber seal on it. Rods would always be dry. Always be dry. It didn't matter because you got to have dry rods when you stick welding, y'all. And we're going to get there's a 6011. We are going to get this. It's not going to be pretty, but it is going to be stout, and it will have those tubes all locked up together, and that is going to help make all of this like a twist. If the tubes are welded on both sides in a twist, it's going to hold it all together and keep this thing from doing this. And that's why I wanted to go ahead and do it while I had a chance. So, you see if I remember how to do this, y'all. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Get that down there. See, and this is the reason you can use a stick places you can't use anything else. So, like down in that corner, just like that. Now I'm in that corner. That's why you do field repairs with a stick that you can't do with a MIG welder. side. Let's see. I need a handle. That'll work. Handle. Couple spots on there, and then that looks good. Get me a spot about right there. All right, and then. There. Okay. So I'll probably weld the two ends, and then this right here I'm going to have to do over time. I'm not going to like heat soak this whole thing at one time because it might twist or pull or do something weird because of that. So, you know, like I said, working this frame like that, I try not to just sit here and just run, you know, 12, 15 inches at a time. 2 or 3 inches, quit, move somewhere else. I'll do the same thing here. Probably go ahead and get this and then just wait and work on something else and come back to it. You know, do it like it right there, but just fill it all in. And now, I got me a good piece of 1/8 steel that tube can go right into. That's going to be welded all the way around. So. All right, so here's the finished product, completely done. I just took me a couple coffee breaks, let this cool in between, got it all welded up. Figured I'd show it to you right quick because I'm probably gonna take a flat disc and like take at least the top of the weld off. That way, wherever the bay bar comes down, anything I'm welding on, that stuff's not in the way messing me up. So yeah, so that's what it looks like. Super simple, super easy. But yeah, worth it. Now I got something good to weld into. And I think that's the only spot left that I had to fix as far as rust goes. And I want to show y'all, I had started trimming out where my upper control arms, my cross member that goes across the back, I started trimming it. And I was like, wait, I need to show this on film. So anyway, so let's go ahead and put that tube across where I weld all that up and beef that up in the back and get that knocked out in this video as well. Well, if you've been watching and we've been going on this, you'll notice I'm missing something here. So I had a big piece of H-beam that I had originally squared the car up on right here. So that H-beam was very useful to get the car squared up, get everything leveled, but you know, put some struts in place, frames completely rigid. It's fine, I don't need it now, and I can stand here and work. There's going to be other stuff that gets put in here, but it's still going to be a lot easier for me to get in and out of the middle of this car. I want to show y'all, I went ahead and got started back here. Of course, you see I've been sitting here seaming up everything. But I started cutting and then I stopped because I'm like, wait, we need to put this on film. But anyway, I've already took and ripped this side out right here, and I started and I took a level and went across here and like measured to the floor. So I got a mark across, and here's what's going on here. I'm taking this top off. Again, really pay attention to your particular tracks. You know, some tracks you have to have your original, you know, mounts and for the springs and everything. Some tracks you can get rid of this. You know, they may want you to like leave this entire piece. I take this off right across here where that I can get one straight line that's fairly close going across, because what I'm going to try to do here is I want to put a tube in and weld this up, because this center right here will flex. It'll do this right here, it'll fatigue, and you have to tie it. And a lot of people will take it and they'll run tubes from the back of the cage to it. But like I'll put a tube across right here, and then that gives me something I can tie onto as far as like my spring jack mounts and stuff. Really beefy, ties my frame rails together as well. And I need it to be in front of and out of the way of my springs themselves. So I just take and I cut right across there. But make sure that whatever sanctioning body, whatever rules, you know, that you're cool with that. So I've already started. And find a helmet here. There we go. Yeah, so like peeling all of this apart, not the most fun day getting all of that done. But, you know, like for us, it has to be done. And I mean, you can just like cut this out and they make a bucket that's like, you can get like a 6-inch tall bucket that'll raise up to do a taller spring. So there's a lot of different options on how you can go about doing this. Good job, Jay. Woo! All in my arm, man. Right. And then I'm gonna just cut this long. Alright, so we're going to put a piece of tubing in here. I'm going to go ahead and get it cut because it'll make sense in just a minute. Alright, let's get a 42-inch piece of tubing there. I think I got one piece of HREW here. I'm going to use it back there. Before I get into that new tubing. Use this piece up because this is not really as... This isn't part of my safety as far as my roll cage goes or anything. I'm going to use this. This is just welded seam HREW tubing, 095. It's good tubing. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't use it on the main cage. 42 inches. There we go. Get you cut right quick. So my plan here is pretty straightforward. I got my tube cut. I went ahead and cleaned off and shined that up. Got that one already cleaned up, and I've already completely cleaned this one. And I'm just going to trim until this sits down in here. And another warning here, be careful. You can't go very far down because you remember your upper control arm, your trailing arm, if your rear end comes up, that trailing arm is actually going like past, it's going up, 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 up. Well, at a certain point, the top of that trailing arm is going to catch this tube. So be careful on how low you sit it. That's why I just went down enough to get into a straight line here. And that's it, and I quit. So sit there for a second. So I got a big tube hump here in the middle. Let's see where we're set. Yeah, where I can see the trim. And I'm just going to start trimming and trying. Trim, try, trim, try, trim, try. Because I do not want to cut too much away. Get in there, right there. No, I can live with that. That's not moving the trailer. That's not moving my trailing arms out here. That's what I'm worried about is like if I pull that to it, am I going to move my trailing arms? But it's not. It's just that center. So I'm just going to pull it all together and weld it up. It'll be a freaking solid piece of awesomeness. Good to me. Alright. Get a gusset. Just cannibalize and use what you got. Yeah. Looks good. Let's weld her in. All right. All right, the work continues. So we got three big things here, getting the frame ready, prepped out. Wanted to show y'all, like I said, fix the top of this where the box bolts on over here, the right front horn, and then of course you see how I did the back there, welded the tube in, rock solid. That thing is not gonna flex now, that's for sure. Hey, so I had listed on my website, dirtracelife.com, the items that I knew I was gonna have to buy in addition. I wasn't gonna be able to take off of the crush in order to use on this. Man, y'all stepped up and sponsored like literally just about everything on the list. Check out dirtracelife.com because you can see the list of the items that we haven't got ordered yet. And then there's this huge list now of where that a lot of y'all that support us have went in and have ordered those items. Everything is like on the way. Some of the stuff is already here. We're gonna go ahead and stop this video here because I gotta get it in the bag and cooked up and out for y'all to see. And then right back this afternoon, I gotta go right back to welding on it. So at this point, I've been looking at this and it's like I'm trying to figure out, do I do the top halo first or do I do the floor first? But the back of the floor is gonna tie into my tube going across under my halo. So where my back tube goes, at the one behind my head, it's going to control where the tube goes across on the floor behind me, and then that's going to control how that the one that's like comes beside me here in the driver's compartment works. And so it's kind of like you got this order of events you got to figure out. So I think we actually have got to bend the back tube before we put the floor in. So it's like I'm going to put a little bit of the main cage and then we're going to do the floor, is the way it looks like it's going to work out. And I need to draw it out, all out on a dry erase board and stuff, and that way we can get our bends and stuff figured out and do that together. I'll do that next time. If you're not subscribed, we are wide open in this build. So get on there and subscribe, thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. I'm sure some of y'all would do some of this different. Tell me how you do it, because next time I might do it better by getting that feedback. Thank y'all.